using every last breath, escaping the long way down.
What does the word family mean to you? For some, the word brings comfort, a sense of stability, trust, and unconditional love. For others, it's complicated, tangled in a mess of distance, silence, or old wounds. But no matter who you are, one thing is certain: no family is immune to change. And so I ask you another question. What happens when that foundation begins to crack? When grief enters the home and no one knows how to speak its name? When faith hardens into obsession and love curdles into a blistering sense of control? And what if the whole time, while all of this is unfolding, there was something else quietly watching from the dark, waiting, patiently, with malicious intent? These are not abstract questions. They are at the heart of the very unsettling McKinney Family Home videos. First uploaded on January 2nd, 2024, the McKinney Family Home videos began as a small analog horror series that quietly creeped its way into popularity. It has since developed a cult following of viewers dedicated to analyzing each cryptic video in order to piece together its story. I am one of those viewers. From the first couple of uploads, I knew this series was different. It had all the makings of great analog horror: atmosphere, tension, an overwhelming sense of dread. But beyond the horror, there was something else. An incredibly intriguing and difficult mystery to be solved. One of the most difficult mysteries I've seen in a minute. But what is the series actually about, you might ask? Well, the series revolves around the lives of the McKinney family, who have just moved into a new house located in West Virginia. What begins as a simple glimpse into their lives very quickly warps into something akin to a nightmare. Through the father's perspective, we watch as his family slowly unravels, consumed by a sinister force lurking in the background. And that's all I'll say for now. The series fascinated me in its portrayal of grief and trauma, and how this can all be related to religion. While I wouldn't describe the series as anti-religious, I would definitely say it holds some strong criticisms towards the idea that I find to be particularly interesting. And tonight, we will be taking a closer look at this tragic tale to see what we can make of it. We've got a total of 17 videos to analyze, all giving us different clues on how to assemble this puzzle of a story. If you are interested, I have linked to the channel below. I would recommend going and watching the series for yourself, just to show some love to the creator before watching my video. Now, if you are still with me, grab your blanket, turn down the lights, and settle in for a long night, because we are taking a deep dive into one of the creepiest analog horror series I have ever seen. Let's begin. Haven, 1991. Lucky for us, many of the videos listed on the channel have years attached to their titles, which will make assembling a timeline slightly easier by the time we're done watching them all. I will be covering the videos in upload order, as I feel that watching them chronologically would ruin some of the bigger reveals the series has up its sleeves. This is the most normal video of the series. There is nothing overtly strange about it, and it contains no immediate horror. The most ominous part of the video is probably its description, which reads, "The last time we were happy."
Grand reveal moment over here. But this is it. Here's the house. Took forever, but I think we're gonna love it. I think the kids are really gonna love it. Thank you again for watching them, by the way.
We start with a man recording outside of a home that he and his family are moving into. As he records the house tour, he comes to the side of the house and finds that the screen on one of the windows has been taken off.
Well, that's a little weird. There's something to look into.
He doesn't linger on it for too long, but we can immediately start to suspect that this is purposeful, and that someone or something might already be inside the house. I have to say, the acting here is pretty decent. It sounds authentic. If I were to just pick up a camera and record a house tour, this is probably how I would sound.
Yeah, that's weird. I'll add it to the list of things that need to be taken care of before the kids get here. Check out this view every morning. Sun coming up over those mountains. You'll have to visit. We don't have a guest room set up yet. It's gonna be the extra room we have is gonna be Christy's room, obviously, but I'd be willing to relinquish our room if Jess will allow it, and then we'll just couch it if ever you want to visit. No obligation, of course, but.
After showing the backyard, he takes us to the front door, and we can see the doorbell has also been removed. He makes his way into the house, and we learn through his dialogue that he is recording this video for his mother, the grandmother of his children. He also talks about his wife, Jessica, and his daughter, Christy, although he seems to have another child who isn't named. One small but telling moment happens when he shows us a painting hanging up on the wall. He states that Jessica insisted on hanging it, but his pause towards the end of this statement suggests otherwise.
Also got your painting hung up. Jess was insistent that we got this one up. She loves this painting so much.
This could hint at the possibility that his wife has had some form of tension with his mother in the past. The painting itself contains a quote from the Bible, "Love endures all things," taken from 1 Corinthians 13:7. This is the first hint of religious themes we get in the series, and I will let you know right now that religion plays a major role in understanding the story, but have no fear, I will do my best to explain any references that come up. After this, he makes his way down to the basement. It's messy, and there is no power to the basement itself, but the most interesting detail is that many of the items, as stated by the man recording, were left by the previous tenants of the house. One of these items appears to be a wedding photo. Odd, considering that a wedding photo is a deeply personal object to just leave behind in a move, which suggests the couple who previously lived in the house left in quite the hurry.
You see that? Check this out. Who are these people? I wonder if these were the original tenants. Huh. I'll have to reach out to the realtor and see. I would hate for them. That looks like a wedding picture. I would hate for them to just not have their wedding picture. Well, on with the tour. But this is it. This is our house. We've got everything up and running here. I'm super looking forward to it. I think the kids are really gonna love it. I think that Jess and I really just need to start over with everything that's been going on. Oh, sorry. Hold on.
Moving on, the man makes his way back upstairs and explains how excited he is to be moved in with his family. He starts to explain that he and his wife need to start over with everything that's been going on, but before he can elaborate, the phone rings. He picks up the phone, and we hear the conversation as the camera slowly zooms in on the wedding photo. Through the conversation, we learn that the person on the other end of the line is employed at a church pretty close by to where the house is located. The day before, he and his wife Jessica visited the church while the kids were visiting their grandma's house. He says that he and his wife enjoyed going to the service, but sounds a bit hesitant as well, like he's just trying to be nice to the person on the other end of the line.
Hello? Hey, how's it going? Oh, yeah, no, this is fine. This is a good time. Just we're just getting settled in. Yeah, just moving. My wife is out right now, and the kids are they're at their grandma's house. Well, they're at my mom's house. Yeah, no, we had a really good time the other day too. You know, we're new in town. We don't really know anybody, so it was nice. Yeah, we don't necessarily consider ourselves, I guess, spiritual or religious people, but it was nice, and the fact that it's, you know, so close to where we live, it was a good setup. I really like being there.
We learn that he and Jessica aren't exactly religious, so this could contribute to his tone, coming off as a bit uncomfortable. And to be fair, even as a religious person, if I got a random call from someone at the church I go to, I would be pretty uncomfortable myself. He explains, however, that his mother is a very religious person, and even recommended this church specifically when they started moving in.
Well, to be honest, my mom was a very, you know, I thought we were talking on the phone, but my mom was a very religious person growing up, and she had her own series of rules. And you know, when we moved out here, you know, this was the church that she recommended. We kind of did it as one of those things to appease our elders, and we actually ended up really liking it. It was a lot less conservative, I guess, than we were expecting, but it's not in a bad way or anything like that. I just like I said, my mom had a lot of issues when we were younger, but it seems like she's gotten that all worked out, so it's good.
As the conversation goes on, the screen continues to get noticeably more red and distorted, possibly signaling to us that this church or the person calling isn't what they seem. Once the call ends, the video distorts in a series of static glitches, and if we turn on the subtitles, we can see the word hide being displayed at the end of the video. Like I said, this is the most normal video in the series, but it plants the crucial seeds for what's to come. We meet our main characters, the unnamed father, his wife Jessica, their daughter Christy, an unnamed child, the mysterious man on the phone, and the grandmother. We get early hints of religious influence as well, with a quote from Corinthians and the suggestion that his mother is a very religious person. And we get two ominous clues to keep track of in the back of our mind. The possible break-in, with the screen on the window being popped off, and the wedding photo left behind. And that's all for now. We have our seeds planted, so I think it's time we move on to the rest of the series. But I'll warn you now, you'll need to brace yourself, because the next video and all the ones to follow are extremely different from what we just watched, and most of them hit like a freight train. So let's dive in. The second tape throws us into disorienting VHS glitches, immediately setting a darker and more unsettling tone than the previous video. The shift is jarring. This is not the warm, home video style introduction we had last time. Something has changed. We open with a woman on screen. Though her identity is not explicitly stated, for simplicity's sake, I'll assume that this is Jessica, the wife of the father from the first tape. The description of the video reads, "They were all I had," possibly referring to his family. The video is also dated to take place in 1996, a full 5 years after the move-in. At first, the footage seems harmless. The group is visiting what looks like a petting zoo or farm, followed by B-roll shots of them driving through the countryside before getting hit with this. A missing person poster. The name of this person is not stated, but we can see that they are a female, have blue eyes, brown hair, and they also had a tattoo of a cross on their left wrist. They were last seen May 17th, 1993. We cut back to more found footage. If we are to assume that all of the videos we are seeing take place from the father's perspective, we can assume that this is a church group he is walking with. And with the video being called Bible Study, I think this is the correct assumption. During a very quick cut to darkness, we can hear screaming before we are swiftly transitioned back to the group. We see a sign that details the lifetime of a hospital, and we see our group has made their way to a graveyard. Kind of a weird place to have a Bible study, but maybe I'm just more traditional. We are shown another missing person poster. It's slightly more distorted than the last, but we can still make out some details. This person is also female. Her eyes are missing. She has brown hair, was wearing a black dress, and just like the previous girl, had a cross tattoo on her left wrist. She was last seen June 23rd, 1993. It is now later in the night, and the father seems to have wandered off by himself. Her eyes were brown. Her hair was brown. She was wearing shame. And she had a tattoo of a cross on her left wrist. She was last seen September 23rd, 1993. After this, we get a wide shot of the graveyard. Could these graves correspond with the missing person cases? Are they buried here? Text pops up on screen, and it gives us some cryptic messages. We trusted you. Heaven is not yours. We are shown one final missing person poster. It's at this point I'll give you a headphone warning before I play the next segment. the person has no discernible characteristics. If we look at the bottom right of the screen, however, we can see a message that reads, "You left me." Final shot of the video is a church with a message saying, "You are not welcome here." Quite the change from the previous video, but let's look at what we know. There seems to be a pattern of missing persons in the area surrounding this church specifically. They are all women, and their disappearances seem to be random, although 2 of them did go missing on the same day. But their disappearances were all 3 months apart. All of them have a tattoo of a cross on their left wrist, signaling to me that they were all members of this church, directly tying these crimes to the church establishment. Something shady also seems to be happening with the father. If we assume the messages towards the end of the video are directed to him, then we can theorize on some possibilities. The first message is, "We trusted you. Heaven is not yours." The message could mean that the father is either knowledgeable of the church's crimes or might be going along with them. The message could be coming from his family who feel betrayed. The next message, "You left," suggests that he sacrificed one of his loved ones to the church, either his wife or, even worse, his kids. And then with the final shot of the church, we get the message, "You are not welcome here." This could either be literal or symbolic. If it were literal, clearly the father is not welcome at the church for an unknown reason. Maybe he decided to try and expose them. Or if we look at a more symbolic point of view, this could suggest that his crimes have locked him out of heaven's gates forever. We now have some proper horror to dive into, and if you are confused, trust me, it's only going to get worse from here. Before we go further, I want to warn you, this video and my analysis of it contains implications of violence towards children. If that is something that may be distressing to you, proceed with caution. The third video, titled "Third Grade Graduation," starts the same way as the previous video did, with VHS distortion and sunshine-filled B-roll footage, only this time we start outside of a large building. In the middle of these shots, the video cuts to a static view of a door inside of the building. This will be very important soon. Judging by some shots we see later of a basketball court, a library, and a teacher's lounge, I think it's safe to assume that this is inside the school the father's children are going to. Like the previous video, text is displayed on screen hinting at what is going on in the video. While the cameraman is walking through the library, he hears some books fall behind him. And as he turns around, we see the first message of the video that states, "It wasn't here." From this, we can assume that he came back to the school looking for something. The door from earlier reappears on screen, now drenched in a red glow. After this, the video cuts to a shot of a telephone also drenched in that deep red glow, with the message, "If you pick up, the devil will answer." My immediate reaction to this is that this could be a reference to the phone call from the first video, although it could just be a message signaling to us that the father is allowing a dark force to invade his life. Then the video takes a disturbing turn. It cuts directly to a shot of a dark and disheveled basement. This image is complemented by the cries of a child, a crushing or smashing sound, and a deep voice reciting a Bible verse. I will play this segment for you now with subtitles, and once again, I give you a small volume warning.
Daughter Babylon, doomed to destruction. Happy is the one who repays you according to what you have done to us. Happy is the one who seizes your infants and dashes them against the rocks.
The passage itself is Psalm 137, verses 8 through 9. Daughter Babylon, doomed to destruction. Happy is the one who repays you according to what you have done to us. Happy is the one who seizes your infants and dashes them against the rocks. It's honestly one of the more disturbing sections of the series, but let's go ahead and try to dissect why it's here in the first place. Let's start with the verses being recited in the background. Now, although I am religious, I am not an expert on the Bible. It is a large book, and I haven't read everything in it, to be completely honest, so feel free to take everything I'm about to say with a little grain of salt. This is my interpretation of these verses based on my own research and readings. In the context of the time period, these verses come from a lament, likely written after the destruction of Jerusalem and the exile of the Israelites to Babylon. The Babylonians had destroyed Jerusalem, including the temple, and had taken many Israelites into captivity. This psalm is an outcry of people in exile, mourning the loss of their home, their culture, and their loved ones. Verses 8 through 9 express a desire for revenge in the harshest of terms. The reference to dashing infants against the rocks might seem horrifying, but it's important to understand that this reflects the brutal reality of warfare in these ancient times. Babylonian conquests were notoriously brutal, and the siege of Jerusalem was no exception. Many civilians were killed, including defenseless women and children, a standard practice of ancient warfare to prevent future rebellion. Just take a look at Lamentations chapter 5, verses 11 through 12. These were written in the aftermath of the Babylonian invasion that vividly recounts the violence. Women have been violated in Zion, virgins in the towns of Judah, princes have been hung by their hands, elders are shown no respect. The psalmist, most likely, isn't necessarily prescribing or condoning such violence, but is vividly expressing the depths of their pain and anger by invoking the kind of suffering they endured. However, this harsh language reflects human emotion at its rawest. And many biblical scholars argue that this psalm reveals that even in their darkest moments, the Israelites poured out their grief and anger to God, trusting that He would ultimately deal with their enemies. Okay, so this is all kind of interesting, but why is it in this video? First of all, the sound design of this section, featuring a crying child and a slamming or crunching sound, reflects the imagery of infants being dashed to the rocks in a psychologically disturbing fashion. The voice reciting the verses being pitched down is not only creepy, but leads me to interpret this person as a twisted and distorted false prophet, misusing the teachings of God to justify violence. They may truly believe that what they are doing here is ordained by God, when that clearly isn't the case, reminding us that this church the family is going to isn't all that it seems. The video ends with the message, "I won't come home, but only you know why." At the very end, a distorted photo of a child is displayed, and the video ends. From the details we are given in this video, we can assume that the church is somehow connected to the school in this area. We know that the church is into some pretty shady activities, given the details we found in the previous video, but this one suggests that their reach might go far beyond what we originally thought. They seem to be misinterpreting the teachings of God and are using His word to enact violence, possibly sacrificing women and children for God or some other entity that we haven't seen yet. I'm not sure exactly what the father could have been looking for in the school. One way of reading the info we have so far is that he could have been searching for a piece of evidence tying the school to the abuse of one of his kids. This seems likely since the ending text of the video seems to be coming from one of his children. The message, "I won't be coming home again," could mean that they were killed inside of the school, and "but only you know why" shows us that the father knows what is happening and is either complacent or trying to take down the church and stop their actions. Again, these are all just theories at this point, seeing as how the story has been incredibly vague so far. So let's go ahead and continue and get more clues to assemble the story. The description of the next video reads, "She laughs at us." In the following video, we are shown a house and the unkept property that surrounds it. Layers of leaves drape themselves over the lawn. Windows are broken. Dust and dirt line the walls. Text is displayed over these shots, reading cryptic messages. The screaming. It never stops. The never-ending drone of what sounds like wind carries us throughout the video, eventually leading us to shots taken inside the house. We can see that it is in complete disarray. We can also hear footsteps and a window shattering. The video continues to show us static shots inside of the house. Once again, text is displayed on the screen that reads, "This is my body. This is my blood. It's not enough." I was never enough. The message, "This is my body, this is my blood," directly mirrors Christ's words during the Last Supper, and in the video it is juxtaposed with the message, "It's not enough. I was never enough." This is interesting because the video is taking a universally understood message from the Bible, but undercuts it in a way that provides subtext to the events of the series that we are witnessing. Essentially, what is originally being communicated is that Jesus offered his body and blood as a once and for all sacrifice for humanity. When you put "it's not enough" and I was never enough right after that, you get an inversion of this sacrifice, and I have two theories for what this communicates. First is that the cult has taken the language of communion and twisted it into a demand for more flesh and blood, more victims, because the sacrifice of Christ wasn't enough for them. Another possibility is that a victim of the cult, or even the father himself, feels that their own suffering or sacrifice isn't enough, which means more lives must be taken for the cult's work to be sufficient. I lean more towards this theory, especially since towards the end of the video, we hear screaming and burning while looking at a wide shot of the house, hinting that burning the house and the occupants within was a more sufficient offering of flesh and blood. One thing that seems safe to assume is that this is the home of the McKinney family grandmother, suggesting that she may have been inside when it burned down. But the description of the video, "She Laughs at Us," deserves a closer look. The title of the video is Grandma's House, 1995, so it's reasonable to assume that the description refers to the grandmother herself. If these tapes are indeed from the father's perspective, then the line could imply that she is laughing at her own son as he is drawn into the dark world of the cult, hinting that she may be complicit and even knew the burning would happen before it did. Though in the video we see footage taken inside and outside of the house, presumably after the burning, I'm going to say that the burning itself took place in 1995, as to not get too bogged down in the timeline this early on. The last detail that's left a little bit ambiguous are the footsteps and the shattering glass. I believe that this suggests that someone may have broken in to start the fire, or that something was thrown inside through a window to ignite it. Either way, the tape frames the grandmother's house as a place of deliberate destruction, rather than an accidental blaze. All these thoughts are mostly left up to speculation at this time, however, so I think it's best we keep watching and keep gathering information. The next video begins on an open highway in the dead of night. The description of the video reads, "My children are missing." In a blink and you'll miss it cut, we are shown an abstract drawing that looks like it was done by a child. In it, we can make out a dark figure, but I'm not sure what it represents at this time. The driver stops on the side of the road and begins to survey the forest of the surrounding area, eventually finding an abandoned church. He makes his way inside and paces around before hearing a loud noise, causing him to stop moving. The video cuts between static shots inside the church with text displayed on screen. Who is there? I can't talk to strangers. Where are we going? The wording suggests that this is the voice of a child being lured away. We get another flash of an abstract drawing, this time with two figures. And if you look really closely at the bottom left of the drawing, you can see some text that reads, "Dwayne is sad." This is the first time the name Dwayne has appeared, and I assure you it won't be the last. The cameraman makes his way out of the church to investigate the noises he heard coming from outside, but before we can see what waits for him, the video cuts to another image of one of the empty windows in the church. Only this time, the figure from the second drawing appears with the text, "He's hurting me." The cameraman continues to investigate outside before stumbling upon a graveyard. The tension in this section is phenomenal. We never actually see anything, but something can be heard in the darkness just past the camera's view. Well, are you confused yet? Don't worry, you're supposed to be. While the series is still difficult to put together even after 5 videos, we can still retain some important details. This video is dated 1993, placing it around the same time the women start to go missing consistently. While the cult has probably been active for years, they seem to be particularly active in 1993, about 2 years after the McKinneys move into their new home. They have had time to get engrossed in the church and its culture, and what I believe is happening in this video is that the father has stumbled onto a sacrifice in progress, and to make matters worse, it seems to be one of a child. Not only does the language of the text suggest this, but the drawings we see in the video also support this. While I can't be completely sure what these crude figures represent in the drawings, I'll go out on a limb and say that this is how the child views the cult members, as these kind of abstract monsters. When we see one of them in the window of the rundown church, the text displayed says, "He's hurting me," referring to the figure in the window. The cult members lured the child out into the woods to be sacrificed, and the father seems to be following close behind. He doesn't see the sacrifice, but he hears it, and then gets the hell out of there. This video also gives us the first mention of a name, that being Dwayne. Although this tape doesn't explicitly say it, for clarity's sake moving forward, I am going to treat Dwayne as the father whose perspective we have been seeing so far. The message that Dwayne is sad suggests that this is the case, although if I had just witnessed a child murder, sad isn't the word I would use to describe my feelings. Unless it was my own child.
You'll have to visit. We don't have a guest room set up yet. It's gonna be the extra room we have is gonna be Christy's room.
Going back to the first video, we can hear Dwayne state that he has a daughter named Christy, and the video is titled Christy Baptism. It's possible that the child speaking through the text in the tape, and that we hear later screaming, is Christy. This would also explain the description of the video. My children are missing. This was no baptism. It was a murder. In just 5 tapes, the McKinney family's story has shifted from a fresh start in a new house to a psychologically disturbing tale of cult activity, weaponized religion, and sacrifice. Because the series is so vague, I put this section here to hold on to some key elements before we continue. The beginning of the story is pretty straightforward, all things considered. By suggestion of his mother, Dwayne McKinney moves his family to West Virginia for a fresh start. He, his wife, and his kids begin attending a church close by, also recommended to him by his mother. By 1993, however, we can see that this church isn't at all what they first presented themselves to be. women begin to consistently turn up missing this same year, all of them having the defining characteristic of a cross tattoo on their left wrist. Dwayne, and possibly by extension Jessica, seem to be aware of the church's activities. From here, it gets a little muddy though. With the information we have available to us, not much can be nailed down. From what we witness in Christie baptism, Dwayne seems to witness his daughter being sacrificed in the forest, although he doesn't actually see it happen. I do find it strange that he runs away, however. If it is Christie being sacrificed, then why doesn't he try to stop it? Does he know it's her? Is he compliant in it? There also seems to be another child that was sacrificed inside the school, with no hints given to who they are. But we do know that the sacrifice in the school took place a year later in 1994, so Dwayne is very much aware of how the cult uses and sacrifices children by this point. Could it be possible that the cult members forced Dwayne to watch them sacrifice a child, or even do it himself? Was it one of his own? The burning of his mother's house in 1995 is also still a mystery, but seems to be an incredibly important event in the story. Again, I think his mother is in on what the cult is doing, and I think she invited Dwayne to live close to the church so they could use him later on to fulfill some goal that we are unaware of. To summarize, the cult is an active set of nasty people, committing heinous crimes with the justification of their religion. Dwayne's mother is in on their activities and is using Dwayne and his family for the goals of the cult, whatever those may be. But something tells me we've only just scratched the surface of what this story has to offer. Stick with me, because it's about to get interesting.
Run, Papa, run. Run, Papa, run. Run, Papa, won't you run? Run, Papa, run. Run, Papa, run. Run, Papa, won't you run?
The next video is titled Scaremare, and the description reads, "Can't get out." The video consists of the McKinney family and a few other friends building and then walking through a homemade haunted house attraction. Visually, this is one of my favorite episodes from the series. All the props they set up during the walkthroughs look really eerie on the camera that they used to record the video. And the way they use these props to symbolize certain elements of the story is very interesting. And not only that, but the props also appear to change with each walkthrough, giving a PT-esque experience. The first walkthrough is pretty normal. We can hear Dwayne talking to someone about the props and lights that they have set up, and they seem to be ironing out some of the kinks for their little homemade attraction.
This one turn back on? Nuh-uh. Oh my god.
He chooses to focus a longer shot on a static television prop with a bloody handprint smeared on the face of the television before moving on. The next walkthrough is slightly more cryptic. In the low quality sound, we can hear people speaking as if they are making their way through the attraction, but no one is seen. The cameraman is making their way through the attraction alone. At the start of the attraction, I decided to take note of some of the writing on one of the walls at the start of the walkthrough. There is a message reading, "Do you feel his hand?" and another one reading the single word, "Devil." One of the more striking areas of the attraction is a room that has a large cloaked skeleton prop in the middle and an actual pentagram written on the floor, possibly symbolizing whatever entity this cult might be worshipping. In a nice little character moment, the cameraman jump scares himself and continues through the maze. He focuses on the same static television with the bloody handprint before we are shown a photo of a creepy looking doll. Text appears on screen. "You're about to be born. Are you prepared? What did you see?" In the third walkthrough of the maze, the lights are turned off, and we are left with nothing but an ominous dead air for our sound. The cameraman comes to the same wall with the writing I brought up before. They brush past it pretty quickly, but make a point to show another message written on a different wall that reads, "Take his hand." As they make their way through the attraction, they seem to come across someone sitting in one of the chairs before the video cuts, and we get another image of a doll and some text. The video ends with a shot of a skeleton prop and a quick shot of the static TV, only this time, there is no bloody handprint. Not gonna lie, the final section of this video still creeps me out. I feel like it is a perfect combination of low-quality visuals, eerie sound design, and symbolism that many analog horror series strive to achieve. The messages in this video are subtle, but looking at what we are given, I think what this video is telling us is that someone in this family, likely Dwayne, is being corrupted by a supernatural force that is either literally the devil or the entity that the cult worships. The messages written on the walls and the bloody handprint on the TV, to me, symbolize something reaching through the static, making its way into the real world, corrupting a person to do their bidding. The laughing at the end of the video is reminiscent of the description given in the Grandma's House video, which, mind you, takes place the same year as this video. The text reads, "You made me an angel. You are the devil." Pairing this with the laughing means that this message could come from Dwayne's mother. What does this mean for us? Well, we know that the fire most likely wasn't an accident, and that it was possibly started by someone throwing a flammable object through the window. It is possible that in an act of retaliation, Dwayne was the one who started the fire. Insert funny joke here. But instead of killing his mother, she survived. Afterwards, she would look like a victim, and Dwayne would look like the devil, an evil man who tried to murder his own mother. This is all speculation, but I would say it makes sense to me at this point. But my question is this, and it's the one thing that confuses me most about this tape. If Dwayne's kids are going missing, and he knows about the evil acts of the cult, why would he be putting up Halloween decorations with his wife? This could suggest that either the dates can't be entirely trusted, which is frustrating, or the 3 walkthroughs we see take place over a longer course of time. It's possible that they just left the attraction up, and the last walkthrough we see is the most recent. Either way, we still have a long way to go, so in order to keep this video moving, I'm going to head straight into the next video.
Anyone tries to harm them, fire comes from their mouths and devours their enemies. This is how anyone who wants to harm them must die. They have power to shut up the heavens so that it will not rain during the time they are prophesying. And they have power to turn the waters into blood and to strike the earth with every kind of plague as often as they want. Now when they have finished their testimony, the beast that comes up from the abyss will attack them and overpower and kill them. Their bodies will lie in the public square of the great city, where also their Lord was crucified.
The next video is titled Jessica Homecoming, 1998. Its description reads, I love you. Revelation. The prophecy of the end times. At the beginning of the video, we get excerpts from this book, specifically Revelation chapter 11, verses 5, 6, 7, and 8. If anyone tries to harm them, fire comes from their mouths and devours their enemies. This is how anyone who wants to harm them must die. They have power to shut up the heavens so that it will not rain during the time they are prophesying. And they have the power to turn the waters into blood and strike the earth with every kind of plague as often as they want. Now when they have finished their testimony, the beast that comes up from the abyss will attack them and overpower and kill them. Their bodies will lie in the public square of the great city, which is figuratively called Sodom and Egypt, where also their Lord was crucified. In this passage, we read about the power of the two witnesses Jesus will have at the end times. If you are confused about what a witness is, I'll briefly explain my own understanding. Throughout history, God has had many witnesses to his power. Think of people like Noah before the flood or Abraham. The two witnesses in this passage are not disclosed directly to us. Their identity is left as a mystery. But we are told that if anyone tries to harm them, fire comes from their mouths and will devour their enemies. And they will have the power to shut up the heavens and send plagues upon the earth. However, once they have finished their testimony, the beast, or the Antichrist, will rise from the abyss and defeat them, and their bodies will lie in the city of which their Lord was crucified. Revelation's two witnesses are never named. Their identities are left a mystery to us and have confused readers for centuries. Some believe they're future prophets, like Moses or Elijah. Others see them as a symbol of God's people, bearing testimony in a hostile world. Their miraculous powers echo the Old Testament, but their death shows evil's temporary victory. Their resurrection and ascension shows God's ultimate vindication. A pattern of witnesses, suffering, and triumph repeated through scripture, but that's just my own interpretation. The video gets more distorted, and we hear some loud, low-pitched screams as the video cuts to footage taken outside on a dark night. The cameraman walks towards what I believe to be the same house in the move-in video. A red glow shines through the windows, and the cameraman makes his way inside. Once inside, the video cuts back to an outside shot with a flashing porch light, distorted audio, and of course, text. Do you see it? Do you hear it? Was it worth it? They're rotting, and it's your fault. Vile blasphemer. Hollow apologies. What will you do? Can you forgive yourself? After this, we see footage taken in the basement of the house, and we can hear someone walking on the first floor. As the cameraman reaches for a door, the video cuts to a shot of the basement draped in red and an abstract face overlaid on the footage. Then the message, God will never forgive you. The video cuts to Jessica on the side of the street, glancing back at the camera, and the video ends with the cameraman being dragged in some bushes and supposedly killed off-screen in gory fashion. one last message is displayed on the screen. Help. It should be noted that the year in the video's title, 1998, is the farthest date we are given explicitly in the series, which means what we just saw could theoretically be the ending of our timeline. Dwayne, our cameraman, seems to be killed after returning to his home. By what exactly is unclear, but he seems to be completely alone as well. From what we can see in the video, it looks like Jessica leaves, possibly after the death of her child, but she might have come back as well, judging from the video's title. It could be a possibility that she is the one recording the video and Dwayne is the one killing her, but this is heavy speculation at this point. I think if we look back to the verses in the beginning of the video, we can get a slightly clearer picture of their fates. The two witnesses might represent Dwayne and Jessica, and the beast represents the thing that killed them. All of the text overlays we see are interesting as well. It suggests that Dwayne has done some truly unspeakable acts that can only be inferred at this point. But judging from what we know, I think it's safe to assume he has probably taken part in the sacrifices the cult commits. What's happening to Dwayne? What killed him and Jessica? Just what the hell are these people worshipping anyway? The next video is titled Blank. It has no year attached to it, and the description is nothing more than a frowning face. The flow of this video is delivered through text on screen. The way the text and the static sounds bounce off of each other in the beginning of the video almost gives off the rhythm of a conversation taking place. The text seems to be speaking to a child, asking them about their family and if they have any friends. This theory is reinforced by the fact that after the text asks the child to show them their friends, the video displays a drawing showing a city with birds flying in the sky, clearly drawn by a child. They proclaim that this is where they are from. The next drawing is denoted as depicting their friends. If you pay attention to the text, though, you can see at the last minute it changes from "these are my friends" to "these were my friends." The next drawing depicts Dwayne. The image itself is draped in a contrast of red and black, with some pretty unnerving sounds complementing it. This suggests a darkness surrounding Dwayne, reinforcing our theories from before. The next image we are shown is denoted to be the child's mother, who can be heard crying in agony. The next image is the thumbnail of the video and is denoted to be the child themselves. The final image depicts Grandma. The video ends with the message that Mommy will make it better. Okay, so what was all that about? Well, to start off with the obvious, it seems like this video isn't being delivered by Dwayne like the previous videos, but rather from his child. Someone seems to be questioning them about their family, and they respond through drawings. we see how this child is perceiving their parents, themselves, and their grandmother. I find it interesting how the child refers to everyone we see depicted in these drawings as if they are members of the family, all except for Dwayne, who only has his name listed, not Daddy or something like that. Nobody should clip that. I think this, combined with the image and sound design, confirms that something is off about Dwayne, and he could even be dangerous to the point his kids are scared of him, not even calling him Dad. The picture depicting the mother is nothing more than an abstract face with two eyes and her cries in the background. It's disturbing sound design, and I'm not sure what it means at this time. Maybe the audio was taken after she found out one of her kids had been murdered. A mother crying out in emotional pain. The drawing depicting the child is the most interesting and is easily the most abstract, leaving it up to interpretation. I mean, have you all ever tried drawing yourself? That's hard, especially if you're dead. When shown this picture, we can hear a knocking sound in the background that gets increasingly louder. This could theoretically represent something trying to get the child, or could represent the child trying to escape from a locked room. The final picture, depicting the grandmother, shows her as a sort of holy figure with a dark red halo over her head, adding fire to the theory that she is aware of the cult and their actions, and could, most likely, be the one orchestrating the series of events we are watching unfold. The devil made me do it, is what the description reads for the next video. Sticking with the series formula, we are shown normal-looking B-roll footage, this time taken outside of a church, or as we see later, some sort of biblical museum. The video quickly transitions to the inside of a home that is different from the one we are familiar with. This makes sense since the video's date reads 1990, a year before the move-in. Then we are shown some messages on screen. I can help you. I can save you. After this, the video transitions again, but this time it is footage taken inside of the museum. The audio quality makes it a little hard to discern what kind of museum this is, but it seems to depict the Salem witch trials.
Salem town on broomsticks. Signing the book was tantamount to selling one's soul to the devil. The black man, or man in black who tempted them there, the girls eventually revealed was a Harvard graduate and former Salem minister of the Puritan faith named George Burroughs.
The only way out is to burn. We are then shown a pretty cool shot of a spooky skeleton with the message, "It is not enough to burn. Make them suffer." Then the video cuts to the prison from Silent Hill 2. Jokes aside, I at least believe this to be a prison, but I'm honestly not sure. Wherever this is, it is decrepit and has definitely been abandoned for a long time. You lied. When the video cuts to a shot of a dark tunnel, we can hear a man tiredly calling for help, as if he has just been fatally injured. We cut back to the outside of the attraction and we get more text on screen. Hell is open. You are not you anymore. Heaven is weeping. We are shown a shot of 2 graves, and then we are shown more footage taken at the museum. Only this footage is much more cryptic, showing hanging bodies and some questionable sound design. The footage becomes normal again and shows us the inside of the attraction. The audio within these segments is still extremely low quality, but I could make out a name: George Burroughs. For those who don't know, George Burroughs is the only Puritan minister in American history to be executed on the account of witchcraft. He was arrested in Wells, Maine, and brought back to Salem for the trial. Folklore claims that on the road to Salem, a violent storm struck, which some took as the devil trying to free him. Though, from my understanding, that detail is more legend than documented fact. In reality, the charges stemmed from bitter disputes with his former congregation over unpaid debts, which were mixed with accusations of witchcraft. Nevertheless, Burroughs was hanged at Salem on August 19, 1692. Before his execution, he proclaimed his innocence and recited the Lord's Prayer, something witches were believed to be unable to do. But the hanging went ahead anyway. In the final segment of this video, we see a figure with glowing eyes staring into the camera, with the caption, "The devil saw everything." Then it cuts to footage of Dwayne and Jessica on a train before it abruptly pauses on Jessica's distorted face with the message reading, "Please come home." Family Vacation 1990 is an interesting one. It is the earliest date we have so far, a full year before the move-in in 1991. I am still not sure of what everything means in this one, to be honest, but here are some key takeaways. Some of the text we see in the video, things like "the only way out is to burn" and "it is not enough to burn, make them suffer," mirrors the inverted communion language we saw in Grandma's House 1995. Instead of mercy or salvation, the words promise pain and demand sacrifice. Earlier, we see messages like, "I can help you," "I can save you." Since this is before the move, this could be interpreted as Dwayne's mother reaching out to him, saying that she can help him and Jessica's relationship, although we know she has other motives in mind. The museum's George Burroughs exhibit is especially telling. Not only does this connect the series to themes of weaponized religion, but also has a correlation to Dwayne in my eyes. The lines, "Hell is open" and "You are not you anymore" echo a message of lost identity. Dwayne is falling into darkness. This once innocent man is becoming something horrific. The tape ends with a chilling image, a glowing figure with the caption, "The devil saw everything," and then abruptly cuts to Dwayne and Jessica on a train, Jessica's face distorted with a message saying, "Please come home." I'm still not quite sure of what this means. Once again, it could be a message from Dwayne's mother asking him to come home, or it could be Dwayne asking Jessica to return to him after he has committed his horrible actions. The description of the video proclaiming that "the devil made me do it" only reinforces that Dwayne is under some kind of influence and may have even sacrificed victims of his own for the entity guiding him. So another confusing one, but it brings me to the question of what the darkness looming in the background of this story actually is. What presence is causing this innocent man to get wrapped up in cult sacrifices and violent tendencies? Can he even be saved at this point? Dwayne hunting trip, 1997. I tore them apart. The video starts by showing us a dark landscape covered in snow. Text displays a message on screen. The Holy Mother approaches. The person filming, presumably Dwayne, walks through the woods, coming to a private property and finding a snow angel that we later see get bloodied, with the caption reading, "Be not afraid." He continues his walk through the woods and we get more text on screen. Lilith is coming. Do you remember now? We cut to a shot of blood in the snow before we hear a woman's voice call out for Dwayne, causing him to spin around in surprise, all but confirming that the person we have been following this whole time is in fact Dwayne. You followed me. You prayed to me. You gave your life to me. But you left your faith. It should be noted that every time we see the word me in the text on screen, it is capitalized. This signals that the communicator is someone of great importance or power. Dwayne follows a blood trail, leading him to a building with a metal door. It's almost like something was leaving a trail for him. You were punished by me. Your mother brought you home, and you paid for treason. All must die, so that I may live. Dwayne reaches his bloody hand towards the door, and the video cuts to the inside. We see the place is trashed, no more than a disheveled storage shed. He hears a voice call to him.
Daddy?
The voice of his daughter. He whips around to see who is there, but finds no one. However, when he turns back around, VHS distortion conceals much of their features. They appear with a black and white face, wearing a white cloak and hands soaked in blood. My blessed follower, you have disappointed me. Your mother is ashamed. Why do you reject me when I am your God? You and your family have always belonged to me. My will is done. Your debt is paid. Now leave this place and never return. Because if you do, I will devour you. Your body and mind are yours once again. Goodbye, Dwayne. The video ends with Dwayne taking off into the night, running from the dark presence that's been invading his life for years. Over 10 tapes, the story weaved by the McKinney Family Home videos has stopped looking like a set of unrelated VHS fragments and has started to resemble a single downward spiral. By his devout mother's suggestion, Dwayne McKinney brought his wife, Jessica, and their children to a new house and a nearby church. The first tape planted the seeds, and by 1993, those seeds had sprouted. It would seem that around the same time the women begin to go missing, Dwayne is being corrupted by a malicious entity worshipped by the cult. In the Dwayne hunting trip video we just watched, we are told that the entity is referred to as Lilith. Lilith, as a name, is one that many of you watching might actually recognize, but might not know the actual story of where it comes from. From what I found online, the earliest form of the word is Lilitu, referring to a class of female night spirits, or wind spirits in Sumerian and Akkadian texts. They're not one individual demon, but rather a type of entity associated with storms, disease, and harm to infants. In later Jewish midrash and mystical texts, not in the Hebrew Bible itself, Lilith becomes a specific figure. The most famous story, first recorded in the medieval text, the Alphabet of Ben Sira, describes Lilith as Adam's first wife. The story goes that she refuses to be subservient and leaves Eden, later becoming a powerful she-demon who harms infants and seduces men. She was also in Diablo 4. I don't know, I never played the game. She seems to be the entity the cult worships and the figure we see at the end of the hunting trip video. But at some point, by means unknown to us at this time, she took over Dwayne's psyche and gained some control over his actions. This explains why his kids see him differently, and why he seems to have killed people in service of the cult, sliding from witness to participant. In the same video, Lilith seems to give him back control over his body, letting him go. But she also leaves him with another message to never return, or she will devour him. In the Jessica Homecoming video, he appears to return a year later and gets devoured by Lilith, judging from the sound design. Not sure why he would come back, but nevertheless, he does, and I believe that this is where his story ends. This is where he dies. All of this was orchestrated by a demon and his own grandmother, but there are still a lot of blanks to fill. What exactly happened to Dwayne's kids, for instance? What is Jessica's role in this? What is the ultimate goal of the cult and Lilith? Well, one thing is certain. The text, drawings, and biblical references all point to a story about faith twisted into violence, innocence turned into sacrifice, and a family swallowed by something much older and darker than anything they could have imagined. And with each tape, that something steps closer to revealing itself. Let's keep moving, because it's time for some answers.
Shadows come to take me away. Shadow, take the dark away.
Let's take a step backwards. The next set of videos were created to help fill in the gaps that went unexplained after the ending of Dwayne's story. The first video brings us all the way back to 1989, to a promotional video for an establishment known as the Church of the Holy Mother. The tape was also created by Diana McKinney. Given the year and the nature of the video, we can assume that Diana is Dwayne's mother. The description reads, "May Lilith bless you." The video acts as an introductional tape that beckons those of the surrounding community to attend the church and learn the teachings of God and his angels, although this church has an interesting take on the scripture. The tape states that while Lucifer took 1/3 of the angels with him when he was cast out of heaven, the Church of the Holy Mother believes that not all of these angels received damnation. They believed that Lilith, the first wife of Adam, was spared from damnation, and as a result, received a unique ability to communicate between heaven and hell. The tape proclaims Lilith to be a gift from God, allowing them to communicate with loved ones who have died. The tape encourages us to attend a service or reach out to the church through their hotline number 434. What do you have to lose? They will follow me. Okay, so this tape basically reinforces what we already know, but with more specifics. We get a name for the church and for the grandmother who has been referred to throughout the series. We knew already that they worshipped the entity known as Lilith, but now we know why. The church believes that when Lucifer was cast out of heaven, some angels that he took escaped damnation, and this includes Lilith. The reason they worship her is because she has the ability to communicate between heaven and hell, allowing the members of the church to communicate with their loved ones who have passed on. This explains how we were able to receive messages from the dead throughout the series. It's through Lilith's power we are able to read their dialogue on screen, or at least that's my interpretation of it. We do not know exactly how long the church has been running, but if I had to assume, I would say that Diana is in fact the founder of the church, seeing as how she is the one who manufactured this promotional video and seems to be the head of the entire operation. So now we have some specific details about the church and what they are all about. Let's see what else we can find in the next few tapes. The title of the next video is Welcome Home, 1991. The description of this video reads, "You were never alone." It was archived by Diana McKinney and is dated to take place in the same year as the move-in tape that we covered at the start of our journey. The tape begins with our cameraman entering the attic of a house. Nothing too out of the ordinary here until we see text on screen that reads, "Bless this home and give your family peace. They're all waiting for you." We return to the footage of the attic and we can hear someone talking from the floor below. Now, let's pause right here. If you listen closely, the dialogue outside of the attic may sound familiar.
Oh, sorry, hold on. Hello? Hey, how's it going? Oh, yeah, no, this is fine. This is a good time. We're just getting settled in. Yeah, just moving.
You remember how the window screen was taken off the side of the house in the first tape? Yeah. Someone was inside the attic the whole time Dwayne was recording the house tour. The dialogue we hear outside of the attic resembles the phone call at the end of the first tape. Exactly. Combine this with the matching dates and you have some insane foreshadowing from that first tape. But who is this person in the attic? And what are they doing? Oh. Well, that's strange. In the attic, we witness the person enacting what I can only assume to be some kind of ritual. They lay out pieces of what looks like bloodied flesh over the drawing of an abstract symbol, and then they start speaking in reverse. If we take this audio and plug it into our video editor, we get a haunting message.
I am not the first. You will not be the last. She's already inside you. This blessing I do pass.
I am not the first. You will not be the last. She is already inside you. This blessing I do pass. This is very interesting because it tells us a lot about the cult's activities and how Lilith actually works. Whoever this person is in the attic has also had Lilith attached to them, but they aren't the first. In this case, the ritual is used to pass Lilith onto Dwayne so that she may control his actions, all happening while another church member distracted him on a phone call. This is reinforced by what comes next. We see the entry of the attic with text overlaid on the screen. I never left. My family is gone. But she promised. If I do what I'm told, it's your turn. I'm so sorry. The door will open. I'm coming home soon. From the dialogue and the man's crying as he performs the ritual, we can tell that he doesn't want to go through with this at all, as he seems to have gone through something similar himself. Through his dialogue, we learn that his family is gone, likely sacrificed to Lilith. But it seems Lilith likely promised him that if he were to perform the ritual, he could see his family again. As we know, the sole reason these people worship her is to communicate with the dead. He says that it's Dwayne's turn to bear Lilith's wrath, and apologizes. But we still don't really know who this guy is. At this time, I would say that I believed him to be the previous owner of the house that we see in the wedding photo of the first tape. The final shot of that video, focusing on the photo as the screen slowly turns red, is supposed to symbolically represent the ritual taking place just out of our view, as well as telling us who is performing it, although we didn't know at the time. If you don't believe me, just wait. The next video gives us more answers. The next tape starts with some shots taken inside and outside of a cabin before transitioning to footage of a conversation between two women. The description reads, "When the door opens." It is dated to take place in 1990, so about a year before the move-in. The women seem to be talking about the naming of a baby. The footage gets cut off and the conversation is kind of hard to describe, so I'll just let it play for you real quick.
Don't think about it.
Mm-hmm. So she had a baby.
Mm-hmm.
When did she go home? How long was she in the hospital?
So she went in Thursday,
Mm-hmm.
and they left on Monday. So she was supposed to leave on Sunday, but they had to keep her for an extra day because of all of that. Is named May.
Does she even?
Is that not psycho? Is that not crazy? And so Amanda was like, yeah, she was going to try to name her May. And then she goes, Amanda, like, this is literally what she says to me. She goes, actually, now that I think about it, she tried to name her all.
One interesting detail you can catch if you're paying attention is that while the women are talking, we can see a painting of that same abstract face we saw previously in the Jessica Homecoming video, hanging up on the wall. At this time, I'm not sure what it's made to represent, but if we look all the way back again to the 1999 move-in video, we can see the same painting left behind in the basement of the house while Dwayne is recording. A pretty neat detail. But it also suggests that the subjects of this video, that being the Walden family, are the people from the wedding photo who lived in the house before Dwayne moved in, as it seems to be their painting that they left behind. The video then cuts to a more concise conversation between a couple. the wife begins to share a story about her husband's recent sleeping patterns as they have been abnormal. I'll go ahead and let this conversation play out for you as well.
Now.
Yeah, I'm pregnant. My body always
Those are
hurts.
almost the exact same thing.
That's not even close to the same thing. That's so rude. Oh, I do actually have something that I could story tell about Josh's weird sleep pattern last week. He woke me up in the middle of the night. It was probably like 2 or 3, and he shook me and he was like, the alarm, he was like, it's the what were you saying? It was something about the alarm. He kept asking if something was in a lock in the door. Something like that, because he kept saying that there was, like someone was going to break in or something, but he just kept repeating this thing where it was a weird phrase. I can't remember what it was. It was like, oh, I told you this. What did you say?
I don't know.
You know,
Okay, so let's pause on that conversation before we move on. What do we learn? Well, first things first, we learn that the husband's name is Josh, and it can be presumed that his last name is Walden, judging by the title of the video. And if we look at this couple more closely, we can see that they bear some resemblance to the couple in the wedding photo, giving us confirmation that they are in fact the previous owners of Dwayne's house. As Josh's wife speaks, we learn that 1, she is pregnant, and 2, Josh is experiencing something strange. His sleeping patterns have been abnormal as of late. He has been saying strange phrases in his sleep that he himself can't remember, and talking about someone or something breaking into their home. This could be a side effect of Lilith's influence on him. Before we can hear more of this conversation, however, the video cuts to footage taken as someone drives down a highway at night. This transitions to a shot of the moon where we can hear the sounds of a shovel digging into the earth. Text appears on screen once again and reads, "Yes, you do." This is a direct follow-up to Josh's response to his wife. When asked if he remembers what he said when he woke up, he says he doesn't know, but the text claims otherwise.
he kept asking if something was in a lock in the door. Something like that, because he kept saying that there was, like someone was going to break in or something, but he just kept repeating this thing where it was a weird phrase. I can't remember what it was. It was like, oh, I told you this. What did you say?
I don't know.
The video then cuts to a pretty creepy shot of Lilith, with more text reading, "Hear my voice. If you do what you're told, you will be reunited. Love endures all things." We are then shown a static television, with female laughter being heard in the background and some abstract imagery of Lilith through a glitch-ridden display. So this tape basically confirms my theory from the previous. Josh Walden begins to fall under the influence of Lilith, and I believe that he eventually sacrifices his wife and most likely their unborn child as well. As he goes out to dig a grave for them, Lilith appears and says that if he does what he's told, he could be reunited with his family. This urges him to perform the ritual, and he essentially curses Dwayne to repeat what he has done. In the next video, titled The Path to Divination, we focus on a sermon given by Diana McKinney herself dated to take place on May 26, 1991.
You're listening to The Path to Divination, a sermon by Diana McKinney, given on May 26, 1991.
If you would please open your books to Romans chapter 12, verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. What I'm talking about is sacrifice. God gave you your body, your mind, and your free will, and in an instant, he could take it away. But that is not the will of the Lord. No, my children, he gave you all free will. You have the freedom to leave this place. You have the freedom to worship here. You have the freedom to question what you do not or cannot see. Is there a God in his heaven?
Divination describes the practice of seeking knowledge of the unknown by supernatural means. In her sermon, Diana explains that the path to divination is one paved through sacrifice. She justifies this by using Romans chapter 12, verse 1. The verse in question calls those who follow God to offer their bodies as a living sacrifice as a form of true worship. My personal interpretation of this verse calls for believers to not literally sacrifice their physical bodies to God, but rather calls for them to align their lives with God as best they can, devoting themselves truly to his grace and not giving into the temptation of earthly things. But as we know, Diana has a different interpretation, as does the whole church. Rather than seeing sacrifice as letting go of vices and getting closer to God, they see sacrifices as more literal. They kill people and offer them as payment to Lilith to seek the truth of what lies beyond their view. As this tape is playing, we can see someone pacing in the background, listening, although I'm not sure who it is just yet. As we listen, we learn Diana had a husband named Richard, and she had Dwayne at the young age of 19.
Let me tell you a little story about my life and my own personal walk. I had a child at the young age of 19. The father of my child and my husband at the time was a good man. We were not churchgoers when we first met. No, we were stained in sin, lost in the darkness of youth. In the middle of all of this was a child who we loved dearly. When times grew tough, my husband Richard would work so many jobs to keep us alive, and one day I grew tired of watching him struggle while I sat at home with our son. So I turned to the Lord, and though it took some convincing, I eventually got Richard to come visit some local churches with me. We tried many and found this calloused mindset all around. It wasn't about God, no. It wasn't about salvation, no. It was about pride. Closing your eyes to the world around you and commanding a room full of people to hand over what little monetary value they had in order to get closer to what they believed to be God.
Richard had to work extremely hard to keep their family comfortable, and as stated by Diana, she and Richard both eventually turned to religion as life got darker. But they had some difficulties finding a congregation that suited their needs. This is when Lilith appeared to them and manipulated them into following her instead.
We found nothing but sorrow here until we met someone who showed us a new path, a direct path, not only to salvation, but to a better understanding of the world here on this planet, on Earth, as well as the heavens above and the hellfire below. Now, some of you here know who I'm talking about, and some of you have been blessed by her. Some of you have felt her hand upon you. Some of you, like me, have even seen her yourself. I'm talking about Lilith. Lilith, who has given us everything. And for this blessing, we are called to give her everything we can. Sacrifice who you are, who you were, who you thought you were born to be, and give that up to Lilith. And in return, she will give that to God. and she will bless you with wonders beyond your comprehension. When my husband passed, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was alone with this teenage boy who didn't understand what was going on. But Lilith placed her hands on our son's shoulder and breathed new life into him. And I'm so happy to let you know, my wonderful flock, that our child, who had abandoned his faith, is finally coming home. Lilith spoke this into existence years ago, and it's finally time. Praise the Holy Mother. My son is coming home.
It is unclear what happened to Dwayne's father, but I think it's safe to assume that he passed when Dwayne was just a child. It also seems that Dwayne was more or less destined to return to his mother and the church. As we hear, she rejoices that her son is returning home, as it was ordained by Lilith many years ago. After this, the video gets darker, stained in a red hue, as if blood has been smeared over the camera lens. Diana's sermon also takes a much darker turn. Much like we've heard before, she ends the tape laughing.
Among the howling and hissing wild creatures and demons, Lilith herself, demoness of the night, will call this place her home, a place to recoup and rest between her devastating forays. Dwayne, my son, welcome home.
One of the more confusing mysteries in this video is the identity of the person recording. Towards the end of the video, the tape and the painting are seen to be covered in blood, so it's implied whoever it might be might have just killed someone. I originally thought it to be Dwayne, finding the tape for himself. This could be the moment where he realizes what his mother's true intentions are, and it matches up with the description of the video. But the violent nature of the imagery confuses me. If we are to assume that this is before Lilith takes control of Dwayne's mind, which is actually confirmed later on, then why would he have killed a person? I think one theory that works is that this could be Josh and not Dwayne, and the blood could be left over from a sacrifice. Maybe this is how he got the flesh for the ritual in the attic, and he is prepping himself for what is to come. This is the only thing that makes sense to me. The year attached to this video, being 1991, is also the year the ritual takes place, so even the dates match up. Beyond that, there isn't too much else to say about this one, as it kind of spells out its other details plainly. At the age of 19, Diana had her first and only child, Dwayne, with her husband Richard. Lilith then appears to them, and after her husband dies, Diana continues to worship, but Dwayne later leaves her to start his own family after Diana's attitude towards religion becomes skewed and possibly abusive. However, it seems that he was always destined to come back to her, to fulfill some dark prophecy Lilith laid out all those years ago. At this point, we only have 3 videos left to cover, so let's go ahead and see how this series wraps itself up. The next tape follows the naming convention we are familiar with. It is titled Jezebel, 1997, and the description reads, "You took him from me." The video starts us off with footage taken from someone walking through the woods. In the background we can hear children singing in a choir. Eventually night falls and we get more text to analyze as the person walking makes their way into a disheveled house. This is holy ground. Someone was here. They are gone now. But I'm still here. Before this last message, we are shown what I assume to be a photo of Diana and her husband Richard. Right after this, Lilith appears. I grant you eternal life, and in exchange, I shall have your skin. In the next segment, we can hear a woman crying out in pain, along with what sounds like bones cracking and flesh tearing before a message appears reading, "It is nearly time." This video is vague, like really vague, but what else is new? What we know for sure is that it takes place in 1997, the same year the Dwayne hunting video takes place, so this is near the end of our tragedy. I'm going to say that this video takes place before the hunting trip video, as I believe the message of "it's almost time" to be referring to a video that we see later on. One of the reasons this tape is hard to decipher is that once again we don't actually have confirmation of who's holding the camera. The footage doesn't make it explicit, but given the video's title, Jezebel, and the screams heard towards the end of the video, I'm going to assume that this takes place from Jessica's perspective. The title Jezebel is deliberate. In scripture, Jezebel is remembered as the queen who defied God's prophets, promoted false worship, and led Israel into corruption. Over time, her name became synonymous with spiritual rebellion and has often been weaponized to condemn women who challenge religious or patriarchal authority. Within the context of this series, the Church of the Holy Mother would almost certainly brand Jessica as a Jezebel, not because she's evil, but because she resists their doctrine and questions their control. What the cult sees as an act of defiance, a mother's attempt to protect her family and herself from the faith that is trying to destroy them. The description that reads, "You took him from me," could come from Diana, expressing that Jessica took her son away from her. It's possible that Jessica was actually the one to persuade Dwayne to leave his mother all those years ago. In the end of the video, I believe this tape shows Lilith offering Jessica a deal: eternal life with her deceased children in exchange for her body as a vessel. And with the sounds we hear, we can infer what decision she made. This theory is reinforced by what we see and hear in the hunting trip video. When walking through the woods, Dwayne is lured by a female voice, one he recognizes. Following it, he finds Lilith. But it's not just the voice that leads me to believe that Lilith is using Jessica's body as a vessel. If we look at Lilith's appearance in the hunting trip video, it is different from her appearance in the Walden family video. Specifically, if you look at Lilith's hair, you can see that it matches Jessica's. So if this is in fact true, then that means Dwayne's family by 1997 has been completely wiped out. And we know that he dies in 1998 as well. But it still feels like we are missing some key elements. Let's keep moving. We still got some clues to find.
No, don't look at me like that. I don't want to keep going in circles. You didn't grow up here. You didn't grow up with her and everything, and you didn't grow up with all of her ways and rules and thoughts and ideas and the things that she believes are there that aren't there. None of it is real, and yet somehow to her it is real, and I don't know what it is, but being in this house, being so close, it's like I know what she was talking about. I know what she meant all of a sudden, and I look at my children, I look at our kids, and it's like they look right through me. It's like they're looking at me, but there's something behind me that they're always looking at and always afraid of. You know, the other day, Christy, she was in her room. I heard a noise. I went in to check on her. I asked if she was okay, and she just stared at me. I kept asking, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I just did nothing. It was like I wasn't even there. She's looking at me. She's looking me in the eyes. But she is not seeing me.
The next video's title is nothing more than a date, October 9th, 1992. It begins with dialogue from Dwayne, something we haven't heard in a while. He is discussing their situation with Jessica, talking about his mother and her beliefs. He explains to Jessica how their kids' reactions to him specifically have changed ever since they moved. His kids are able to see the darkness that is looming around him as a result of the ritual that Josh performed in their attic. It is also confirmed here that Dwayne and Jessica do in fact have 2 kids, meaning it wasn't only Christy that got killed. Later on in the video, Dwayne hears the tape recording of his mother's sermon coming from Christy's room. Since the tape all but confirmed his mother's beliefs were a lot more sinister than he originally believed, he scolds Christy for listening to the tape. He asks her where she got it, and she replies by saying Grandma gave it to her. Dwayne reacts by saying that doesn't make sense, as Christy hasn't seen her grandmother in months.
What is this? Where? Christy, what is this?
Years ago, and it's finally time. Praise the Holy Mother. My son is coming home.
Christy, where did you get the tape?
Grandma gave it to me.
What do you mean Grandma gave it to you? You haven't seen Grandma in months. Who gave you this tape? Where did you get this tape? Christy, did you find this tape in the house? Where in the house did you find this tape? I am done with this. I am done with this. I am done with this. This ends now.
Unable to get more information from his daughter, Dwayne has a breakdown and takes the tape down to the basement. Then he takes a hammer and in one hit, smashes it to pieces. But something is wrong.
What the hell is that? Is that a tooth? What the? What is that? What? This is what? What the? Okay. What? No. No.
Inside the tape, he finds a tooth and some other unrecognizable blood-soaked items. Text on screen reads, "It is too late. They know what you are. Monster." We see the same gate from the end of the attic video. Now open. This video is a little easier to break down, although just to be clear, some of my explanations are assumptions. The tape that Dwayne smashes seems to have some sort of significance to the overall ritual. My theory is that Josh Walden had released himself of Lilith's control in the attic, and Lilith had attached herself to Dwayne, but she hadn't been let in yet per se. This is why Dwayne still seems to have control, but his daughters can clearly tell that something is looming around him. I believe that the destruction of the tape was the final step to letting Lilith take control. You see, in demon mythology, especially in Catholic doctrine, free will is sacred, and not even Satan or his demons can override it. They can only be let in through a form of invitation. You know that story about vampires not being able to enter your home unless invited? Well, it's kind of like that. One form of this invitation could be severing a person's ties to their faith in the form of destroying spiritual objects. This tape could very well be a spiritual object, and after it's destroyed, Lilith has the ability to take full control of Dwayne. This is why he screams at the end of the video. He understands that he is too late. The door has been opened, and there is no way to close it now. The only thing that confuses me about this video is the line that his daughter got the tape from her grandma even though she hasn't seen her grandmother in months. She could just be lying, as kids do, but I think there's more significance to it. I'm just not sure what it could be at this time. And so we have arrived at the final video of our series. Are you ready to end this? Well, stick around, because we're about to.
We got this dead end here. We see a lot of people actually thus far driving down here, and then they'll just turn around because this is the dead end. I guess maybe at some point this wasn't a dead end and it led across the way. But if you were to cross over here, you'll see this adorable and charming little creek.
The description of the final video reads, "It is finished." The video starts with a continuation of the house tour given in the first video. Dwayne shows us around the property some more before coming to a shed. He enters and remarks how it looks like someone left in a hurry before we see a shot of a red-cloaked figure standing in the moonlight. Text on screen reads, "The harvest is upon us." We have abandoned our tongues. We have given up our names. We see many red-cloaked figures appearing in different places throughout this sequence. The most noticeable being the shed that is located on Dwayne's property. We relinquish our humanity to you and to her. These figures, who I assume to be the cult members, have given their humanity to Lilith, leaving them as nothing more than silent servants. In the next section, we are shown a cross in a field with the text, "You are my loyal servant." And to save you from a jump scare, we get a flurry of sped up videos from the series overlaid with more text. "Vengeance is yours." After the segment ends with the word "everything" being displayed on the screen, we are shown the cross again, only this time someone is crucified on it. "Dry your tears. You will be with me in paradise. Diana, my child. The harvest has begun."
But yeah, I definitely don't want the kids in here, so I'll maybe talk to your friend, who I actually just got a lovely phone call from, but I'll talk to him and see if maybe he knows what...
Abruptly, we cut back to the video of Dwayne in the shed. He remarks about the phone call we heard in the first video, and says that he is going to leave the shed before he hears a noise behind him.
Let's go ahead and...
He turns around and the video cuts back to the cross. We can see Lilith. A bell tolls in the background. A baby is crying.
What's that?
When we cut back to Dwayne, we can see him discovering the tape that was left for him, the one he would eventually destroy, sealing his fate. It was planted in his own home, all planned from the very beginning. Then the video cuts back to Lilith, only this time she is holding the baby in her arms. What will you name this child? She will love it. Notice how the word she is not capitalized here, so the word she is not referring to Lilith, as whenever the series is referring to Lilith through the captions, the words she and me are always capitalized. So whose child is this exactly? The person filming begins running, and we are shown images of the cult members. They all seem to be wearing the same painting of the abstract face we saw in the Walden family tape. We cut to a creepy shot of an eye looking through a peephole in some wood, with the text displaying, "Your child will know me. This was never your home." Then we see a shot of Dwayne himself taken just outside of his point of view as he records the house tour, just to further confirm that he was being watched the whole time. It is your tomb. We see one final shot of the cross in the moonlight, and then another shot of Lilith. She comes closer to the camera, and then the video cuts to one word: miracle. And that, my friends, is the ending of the McKinney Family Home videos. Or at least it would be, if not for a clue I found while I was editing. While the video has its final run of tape, ending in static, you can just barely make out one final message. After doing some editing to the video, I figured out what it says. Christy, we are all waiting for you. Follow my voice. Listen. And that is the end of our wonderful, traumatizing, and confusing ride through a tragic tale of religion, family, and death. One that is still confusing me with its concrete story, but keeps me engaged with its powerful mystery. In the next segment of this video, I'm going to try and nail down as many details as I can for this story. As you can see, this is no easy task. The series is vague, almost to the point of being frustrating, but I've tried my best to make sense of it all. While I can't answer every question in this video, I will be trying to create a timeline, and we'll also be throwing out a couple of theories for specific events that I feel could work. I think that there is definitely a concrete story here, but the beauty of this series is that it can be interpreted in a few different ways, which makes it a lot of fun. So, let's go ahead and dive in. Here's what I think happened. Sometime before 1989, Diana would meet Richard McKinney, and at the age of 19, she would give birth to her first and only child, Dwayne. Struggling to take care of their child, and feeling a pull towards religion, Diana and Richard begin to scope out churches in their local area. They search, but cannot find a church to their liking, and after seemingly giving up, Lilith appears to them, and they are shown the rewards of following her: communication between heaven and hell, and a better understanding of life on Earth. Sometime after this, Dwayne's father passes. The cause of his death is unknown. Rather than stopping to grieve, Diana keeps developing her faith. hopeful that in doing so she will one day be able to communicate with her deceased husband. Dwayne, most likely in a state of grief over his father's death, rejects his mother and her teachings. He meets a woman, Jessica, and she urges him to leave his mother, and he does just that, moving away with Jessica to start a family of his own. But as we know from Diana's sermon, Dwayne was always destined to return, as foretold by Lilith herself. Fast forward and we hit the year of 1989, and the Church of the Holy Mother is thriving. Diana begins to distribute promotional material for the church, beckoning those who are searching for a congregation to join them in building a community around the worship of Lilith. One of the members of this church community is Josh Walden and his wife. Moving into 1990, we see that they are expecting a child and seem to be fully engrossed in the church, judging by that abstract painting hanging on their wall that matches the masks of the cult members in the final video. But under the surface, Josh is experiencing a darkness he does not fully understand. He experiences strange sleeping patterns, saying weird phrases in his sleep that he can't remember when he wakes up, and experiencing strange visions, all side effects of Lilith's influence on him. Around the same time, in a different part of the country, Dwayne and Jessica have already gotten married and have 2 kids, but are experiencing tensions within their marriage. Regardless of the trauma his mother caused, Dwayne eventually reaches out to Diana for help, and she suggests that he and his family move back to West Virginia for added stability. It seems like a good plan. The kids can hang out with Grandma while he and Jessica get their marriage sorted out, and a new fresh start can begin for him and his family. We know how persuasive she can be, and he hesitantly agrees. Now it's time to fill in some blanks. I believe that either before or directly after Dwayne gets in contact with Diana, Josh Walden sacrifices his family under the influence of Lilith. This is not confirmed, but judging from the messages we see in the Welcome Home video, his family is gone by the time he passes Lilith's blessing onto Dwayne. But this is not the only detail that leads me to believe Josh sacrificed his family. In the Walden family video, we can hear the sounds of him digging a grave on the side of the road. I believe he is digging a grave for his wife and unborn child. There is also a pretty dark detail I caught in that video that I'm not even sure is correct, but I thought it important to point out. And trust me when I say I'm not trying to make this story darker than it already is, this is just something I noticed. We know Lilith has the ability to take over physical bodies, primarily those of women, and when Lilith appears in this video, she has a distinct blood trail running from her stomach. I think it's possible that she stole the body of Josh's wife right before he put her in the ground, and what this blood shows us is a stab wound to the stomach.
In my 30s now.
Yeah, I'm pregnant. My body always
Those are
hurts.
almost the exact same thing.
That's not even close to the same thing.
So, yeah, I think you can understand what I'm getting at here. Game of Thrones fans will understand. When Lilith appears, she assures him that if he does as he's told, he can see his family again. Understandably distraught by his actions, he agrees, effectively manipulated by Lilith. In 1991, Diana records her sermon and alerts the cult members that her son is coming home, preparing the tape as a sacred object to later be destroyed, purposefully made to mock Dwayne, who has begun moving his family into their new home. They also begin attending services at the Church of the Holy Mother. During these services, the members gather information on Dwayne, and when it comes time, they grab their cameras, plant Diana's tape, and force Josh to sneak into the house through the window and perform the ritual in the attic, effectively attaching Lilith to Dwayne. As for what happens to Josh afterwards, it is unclear, but if I had to guess, he might be one of the red-cloaked figures we see in the final video of the series. These cloaked figures could be those who have ritualistically been influenced by Lilith, leaving them as empty shells, destined to wear an abstract painting that mimics the face of the demon they worship. While filming the house tour, Dwayne finds the planted tape and listens to it. The content of the tape disturbs him, and as a result, he begins to push his mother away again, Maybe moving back home was a big mistake after all. But he keeps the tape, not knowing it would be the key to his downfall. Moving into 1992, Dwayne begins to notice something is off. The way his children look at him has changed. They are seeing through him, seeing something that Jessica cannot. They're afraid. Him and Jessica start to experience tension in their marriage once again. Jessica doesn't understand why Dwayne is so on edge, and during their conversation, Dwayne hears the audio of his mother's sermon coming from the bedroom of Christy. Having enough of this, he decides to take matters into his own hands and smashes the tape, effectively opening the door for Lilith to enter his mind and use him for her bidding. With his will effectively being taken over, he begins to make sacrifices for the church. Women start to consistently go missing in the year of 1993, all members of the church, judging by the cross tattooed on their left wrists. Now, it gets a little muddy from here, but this is my interpretation, and in my opinion, this is a logical flow of events for the story. In 1993, the cult manages to lure Christy into the woods. Dwayne knows about this and follows them. I originally assumed this to be a sacrifice, but with a theory I have later on, I'm going to say that Christy doesn't actually die here, even though we hear her screaming. In the video, she states that she has been made pure and has met God, which we can assume to be Lilith. So something definitely happened to her out there, I'm just not sure what. Although I do have a theory, but it will come up later, so just hold on a sec. Dwayne finds the location out in the woods and hears his daughter's cries, but rather than run toward them, he runs away. This signals to me that, through the influence of Lilith, he was complicit in this event but was too scared to watch it unfold himself. His biggest mistake was letting this happen. Now, I'm about to go a little outside of the box and make some assumptions, but hear me out. While this is taking place, I believe the cult takes this opportunity to kidnap Dwayne's only remaining child. The reason I believe they were taken is because of the description given in the Christy baptism video, which clearly stated, "My children are missing." The only thing that I think disproves this theory is that Jessica probably wouldn't let this happen, and there is nothing else but the description of that video to provide any real merit to the theory. But it does make sense with what comes later. Continuing on into the year of 1994, and Dwayne still hasn't found his second child. He searches the school for any evidence of their disappearance, but finds only cult members waiting for him that day. It is here where they force him to sacrifice a child inside of the school, possibly with the promise that his own will be protected. The text begging, "Please, not here," might come from Dwayne pleading with the cult members to not make him go through with this, but inevitably, he does. And I think it shows just how far-reaching the church's influence is on this area, with a light suggestion that some of the members of the school staff could be aware of what's happening. Nevertheless, a child is killed in a place that they were supposed to be safe, a place that was supposed to protect them. At this point, things get a bit fuzzy again. As we move into 1995, we have some contradicting tones that are kind of hard to explain, to be honest. One minute, Dwayne is setting up a Halloween maze with his wife and some friends, and the next, he is committing arson. If his child is still missing at this point, why would he be doing things as innocent as setting up a scare maze? This throws another wrench into that kidnapping theory, but stick with me here. I think that as long as Dwayne doesn't speak out or defy the church, they have promised the safety of his child. Jessica might be aware of this as well, and stays with Dwayne in order to protect her kid. They both try to act normal, but the darkness inside of Dwayne continues to grow stronger with every life he takes, and eventually, he has had enough. He contemplates what he could possibly do. His rage consumes him, and then he realizes all of the pain he is feeling can be traced back to one person, Diana, his own mother. She was the start of all this suffering, all this bloodshed. If he could take her out, maybe it could all end. Lilith feeds into Dwayne's rage, blinding him. This is my body. This is my blood. He was never enough. Never enough even for his own mother. And so, he makes a decision. He rushes to his mother's house and throws a flammable object through the window, starting a violent blaze. Not realizing that his own child was being kept inside. Led away by their grandmother, left to die by the hands of their own father. Diana survives the fire and laughs at how she and Lilith were able to manipulate her son. It all went according to plan in her eyes. Why this kidnapping theory works for me is that it seems more possible for Dwayne to do this if he is simply unaware that his own child is being held inside the house he is about to burn down. Saying that in his rage he would simply forget that his last remaining child is visiting their grandmother just doesn't make sense to me. However, I think there are more theories that could also work as a sequence of events. One possibility is that the sacrifice inside the school was in fact Dwayne's own child. If this is the case, the footage we see of Dwayne and Jessica putting up decorations could be them simply trying to move on, as I don't think Dwayne would tell Jessica that he killed their own kid. I still think Dwayne started the fire, regardless of your interpretation though. Maybe the cult members had gathered at Diana's house and Dwayne tried taking them all out, unknowingly offering multiple sacrifices to Lilith. The screaming, it never stops. But if you have a theory that is more solid for this kind of cloudy section of the timeline, please share. I would love to hear your guys' interpretation. After this, I believe Jessica is overcome with immense grief and decides to leave Dwayne, as he continues to fall into darkness. On his own in 1996, Dwayne continues to commit sacrifices for the church. He does this because he has lost everything. He has nothing to live for, giving in to Lilith's commands completely. But Jessica is eventually called back. Now, what calls her back is not made clear, but from what we know, Diana can be incredibly persuasive. I would say that one day, Jessica receives a message from Diana herself, telling Jessica that if she returns, she can help her reunite with her kids. Jessica would be surprised by this, as Diana was probably pronounced dead after the blaze and has been in hiding. She gives Jessica her location, a house she shared with her husband Richard. Needing to know more, Jessica returns, seeking answers. When she arrives, however, Lilith appears instead and offers Jessica a deal. She will grant Jessica eternal life in paradise in exchange for her physical body. Most likely wanting to see her children again in the afterlife, Jessica accepts and gives her body to Lilith. In the winter of the same year, Dwayne is making his way home through a blizzard. Following a blood trail and the voice of his wife, he enters the shed on his property. How do I know it's the same shed? Well, if you look closely in the Dwayne hunting trip video, you can see a wreath hanging in the same spot as the one from the final video of the series.
But we have our Holy Bible over here, wreath up there. I wonder if Jess will let me grab that and hang that around the house.
Inside, he finds Lilith using Jessica's body as a vessel. Having completed his tasks and giving Lilith a body, she basically turns him loose and tells him to never return, otherwise he will be devoured. Understandably, Dwayne flees, but eventually returns in 1998 after he is continuously haunted by those he killed and his own family. And as it is said in Jessica Homecoming, God will never forgive you. Lilith is there waiting for him, and he is promptly killed and devoured, marking the end of Dwayne's story. But that doesn't seem to be the end of the entire story. I've been putting off talking about the final video of the series because honestly, I don't really have a solid explanation for this one. At least the segments dealing with the crucifixion. We can't be sure of when it takes place, but the main mystery deals with the child that is being born. We are given no hint to who they are or why their birth is even significant. So here are a few ideas I came up with for what could be happening here. First, I believe that what we could be seeing here is a sacrifice in action. We can see that this version of Lilith is crucified on the cross before being brought down, and she is able to walk perfectly fine. Perhaps the trend of all the missing people being women means that those who we saw on the missing person posters are vessels for Lilith to inhabit physically, much like we saw with Jessica and probably Josh's wife. I actually thought that this version of Lilith could be Jessica here, but the difference in hair color debunks this. I also can't say for sure that this is a sacrifice because, as we know, if someone is willing, Lilith can just take their bodies like she does with Jessica. Maybe the process of the sacrifices is inflicting enough pain on the victims to the point where they give up and relinquish their control over to Lilith. I can't be sure though. But what about the child? Well, remember how I said it's a possibility that Christy isn't dead and that something else happened to her out in the woods? I think it is possible that this could be her birth or rebirth, depending on which way you look at it. In the Path to Divination, Diana says that Lilith, quote, placed her hands on our son's children. Christy is special, and Lilith wants to use her for something. Although I can't say for sure what that purpose is, I have a theory. If Christy is the one being reborn here, she could be a vessel for some other entity, possibly the Antichrist. We have a reference to the Book of Revelation in this series with the two witnesses, and there is also the fact that Lilith in demon mythology is literally seen as the mother of demons. The event we are seeing in this video is referred to as the Harvest, which suggests that this event is much more important than we might initially realize, but we're left to infer. I think this theory is strong though, but it begs the question of what happened to Christy in the woods. What I think happened is that maybe Christy's physical body died, but her soul was claimed by Lilith, later to be resurrected. Christy? Christ? I see what you did there. When we see the drawing meant to represent Christy in the video blank, it bears that same abstract nature of the face of Lilith, marking them now as connected. On that note, the conversation we see in that video could be between Christy and Lilith. Lilith is asking Christy about her family and how she views them. At the very end, when Christy says mommy will make it better, I think that's a signal that once Lilith takes Jessica's body, Christy will feel closer to her mother, even though I'm pretty sure after Jessica's body is taken, she dies. In Illegible, this new look of Lilith could be explained pretty simply. I think that they probably needed a pregnant woman to let Christy take a physical form, and Jessica, for all we know, was not pregnant. So Lilith had to have switched bodies at some point. On the inside of this physical vessel, though, a darkness lies in wait, ready to grow into an unstoppable force for evil. The combination of a child's soul with the DNA of a demon. At the end of the day, maybe we're not supposed to know who this child is. Looking at this ending more symbolically, it represents the cycle of violence permitted by the church and their actions. A new life is brought into the world, and another family is destined to be destroyed by the cult, torn apart in the wake of a demon's influence, and the people who are not strong enough to see through her lies. In the end, Diana wins. She and Lilith have their vengeance on Dwayne, and the series ends, leaving us to wonder what will come next. The reason I like the open-ended nature of this ending is because it makes us think about the greater theme of this story. At its core, the McKinney Family Home videos are a terrifying collection of tapes that reflect how religion can taint one's view of their actions. The devil doesn't show himself in an image of fire and suffering. He shows himself through us, through smiles and promises of friendship. A dark sermon delivered to those who have suffered just enough to listen. The McKinney Family Home videos are much more than a story about demons and cult sacrifices. It is a story about blind faith and family trauma. It paints a vivid picture of how easily men can be led astray when evil wears the mask of righteousness. We are creatures who long for meaning, especially in our pain. We want to believe there is a bigger plan, that someone is out there listening. The tragedy is that sometimes someone is listening, but it's not God. In the end, what the McKinney Family Home videos shows us is that evil rarely needs to kick down our door. Most of the time, we are the ones who open the door and invite it to sit down for dinner. Whether through manipulation or willing surrender, it finds its way to our table, and once inside, it doesn't leave quietly. It shows us that one of the most terrifying things about true evil is that sometimes it wins. Hey everybody, it's your guy here, currently recording this late at night because I just got done editing the video. Go back and touch it up a little more. Anyways, it's uploaded now if you're listening to this, and if you are listening to this, thanks for sticking through like just about 3 hours of content. I really appreciate that. Just wanted to put this segment in here to say thank you guys so much for the response to my last video. That was like truly epic. The response was overwhelmingly positive. It was like stupid. I'm just glad that you guys enjoyed, and I hope that you enjoyed this one too. Put a lot of effort into it. I had to go back and like rewrite this script like 3 times because this series was so gosh darn confusing. I think I got pretty close. I don't think I got everything nailed down, but I did my best, and I want to hear what you guys have to say as well, because that's the important thing here, is getting some community engagement and just chatting with people. Anyways, yeah, if you made it to this point, thank you for sticking it out, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I have another one on the way. I got another script finished that I've been holding on to for a while. It's going to be a very different video. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm going to take a little bit of time with this one because I want to make sure I get it right, because it's not fiction, it is reality, and I want to be as respectful as possible. But yeah, cool stuff on the way. Just hope you all are well. Happy October, and yeah, have a great night or day whenever you might be watching this, and I'll see you in the next one. Alright, bye-bye.